So I was just scanning this this death penalty stuff right now because that's just all over my feed is the death penalty, like the normal feed and then like the Spurgy feed that I encapsulate. So I know it's everywhere right now, and it is funny to see people like I saw somebody say, well, that guy got the death penalty, Marcelo, whatever his name is, he got the death penalty, but why not Jeffrey Dahmer? And I was like, damn. This is kind of a throwback, it's not even like a contemporary example, but yeah, all right, why not Jeffrey Dahmer? And I was like, well, he got a broom shoved up his ass till he died in jail. So I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have picked the what the dude got today, first of all, or whenever he got executed. But then also, uh, this is a simple Google search that all these people will tell you. Like, Google is free. I found it for you, but like, Wisconsin doesn't have the death penalty, and Dahmer begged for it. He was like, "Can I please have the death? Like, please, these guys are gonna shove a broomstick up my ass till I die." And it was just really, was Dahmer wrong? I mean,
from the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, I can't do that shit. And I don't never vote, cause I'm fucking broke. And either way, I know the police ain't gon' leave me alone. On a plane, by to visit Glen Rock. Need crypto, told me I should bring the Glock with me. So I packed up my piece and I'm sliding. Cause we might get caught up in a riot. Middle finger Trump, middle finger Biden. Fuck a left, fuck a right, is you riding? Know you love to see it, dudes rocking. Ain't no politics, baby, we just talking. From the birds to the bricks, we be in the mix with that rare candy paint job on the whip. Who you with?
Could we have saved Jeff Dahmer?
He got the lethal injection.
Yeah, it's true. Janitorial injection. Yeah, right. It's just like, yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, we could have saved him. We could have got Jeffrey Dahmer on Rishi. We could have got him remote viewing. Really using those skills for something other than.
Do you guys watch that whole miniseries, the Dahmer miniseries?
I tried. It really fell off, like all Ryan Murphy things do. It fell off. It was hard, I thought.
I felt so seen. It was so funny. The end. It was. I think so. You probably didn't see it because the guy that ended up did killing him. In the end,
yeah,
he was trying to get a bunch of research from the prison librarian, but he was a schizo, so they wouldn't allow him to check stuff out. And then he convinced the sweet librarian woman at the prison. He's like, man, I tell you, once I got on this new diet, like I'm off gluten, I'm off wheat, I feel so much better. Trust me, I'm good now. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she hooked him up, and but he was like straight like peeing in prison or something. It was so funny, dude.
Eating in prison.
Yeah, it was like it was just this little tidbit, and I was like, I think we'd like our side of.
I mean, maybe he got his microbiome on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he might have settled his microbiome issue, which, I mean, what's more important than that, right? That's where your health starts. I mean, everything else secondary, I think. But today we have Dakota Proctor here. You might know him as Plastic Repeater. What does that mean, by the way, the Plastic Repeater?
This was, I was really into Fugazi. I like the song Repeater. The Plastic Repeater with the art is... plastic is something you can mold, and repeating, and I thought I would put these two things together as sort of my ethos for art creation, because there's a lot of returning themes, but the style and the subject matter can change over time, and that's about as deep as it got.
Right. So I mean, when you talk about Fugazi, but like you're also a Sonic Youth fan. That's where I first heard you, was on the Perfume Nationalist podcast. You're a Sonic Youth fan. So what that? I mean, I don't know much about either of those two groups. I just know Kim Gordon's fun to laugh at from time to time, and what's his name, Thaddeus. Thurston Moore. Thaddeus. Yeah, Thurston Moore. They're fun to laugh at because they're just classic Gen X archetypal dorks. But that era. I mean, I don't think you share the same kind of takes on life as they do, but I think I'm the same way, where I can love like old boomer lib stuff and just kind of use it to kind of hone it to do what I do,
This is our version of separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the whole aesthetic. All the 90s stuff is really great. But that's sort of where it ends, at the aesthetics. I'm a musician as well. I play guitar. So, you know, all that 90s stuff is super, that just tickles me in that spot, you know, Jesus
Yeah.
Lizard, Steve Albini stuff. Um, yeah, music was my first thing, and played in a lot of bands up until my early 20s. I got excused. Oh my lord, sorry about that. Hold on. I got excused from a band because I was drunk tweeting after the first Trump election. So I swore off bands. I swore off bands because I figured that I would never be able to get along well enough with other musicians, and that's sort of what started the art career. Um, as time's gone by, I've gotten another band. It's going way better. It's going way better. I was just kind of a angry youth in a lot of ways, and I really, you know, I'm a real ready, fire, aim kind of guy, you know, and that's sort of gotten me in some hot water over the years. I did a Dahmer painting, you know, at
Whoa.
one point. That was not a huge success. I had people in my DMs telling me why I shouldn't be portraying that thing, you know. So it's interesting when the Dahmer show comes around because then
Those same people,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
guarantee you, those
if
same
if
people
it's with
think.
Netflix money, it's okay. But
Yeah.
you know, God forbid an independent artist depicts a serial killer.
And
Wait,
I'd like
walk
to
us.
know why. I'd like to know what percentage of those people that were mad at you for painting Dahmer think that the death penalty, or just the fact that an innocent man was killed by the death penalty today. I bet you there's a middle of that Venn diagram. Is all
There,
I'm saying.
yeah, there's a lot of mental incongruence. You know, it's you know, I we were doing a reading of some old literature tonight, and the male feminists chimed in to
Whoa.
say how this didn't apply, and the women were very happy. And I thought it was very funny that the men of today were speaking out against the men of yesterday, speaking for women, speaking for women. Um, and you know, this is something I run into as an artist, and I think you know, a lot of people in the sphere kind of get it. It's in more numbers come more retardation, you know. the the ability to form a thought gets smaller and smaller the more you want to go along with the crowd. And this is the tough thing about being an artist now, is that if you really want to make some groundbreaking work, you're kind of gonna have to go alone, um, until you get money or something or a cosign. But you know, they're few and far between. So
And
yeah.
do you commission pieces or anything like that? Is there a way for you to kind of succeed independently while before maybe that next big move?
Oh yeah. I mean, I got a show next week at a brewery. So if you're in Raleigh, North Carolina, you can go check it out. Um, yeah, I get opportunities. You know, I walk that line. You know, I exist in both spaces, and it's, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I always pick myself up and put myself out there again. You know, I've had plenty of shows censored or taken down in my life, and you know, you just build that backbone up as time goes. You know, it is what it is. Um, I don't I don't worry about making a living as an artist. It's not really what I think about. You know, I'm really more interested in like, or more neurotic about like talking to girls and stuff with the art, and it's very, you know, there's no, it doesn't feel like there's any skin in the game in a weird way. It just feels natural, and I think when you're good at something, you can kind of just do it,
Yeah.
and you don't worry too much about the outcome. You know,
It's about process. It's all about
it
process. And
is
now
about
you
the
you
process.
you now you mentioned the ladies, and I've scanned some of your paintings. They're a little horny. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
they're a
say
little
that
horny.
much. They are a little horny. There's painted by a horny man. You must be the first ever horny painter. I gotta say, the classically asexual form of craft. I would say, right?
Yeah, I'm the first of my kind. That's for sure. No, I mean the female figure's been co-opted by, you know, brown women. So I'm just doing my part as a white man and trying to take that back.
We're going to get you right back to the episode, but I just wanted to let you guys know of a few other things we offer at Rare Candy Industries. We have a Substack with free and paid subscription options. Free subscribers get access to all written content. That includes Bob's Red Pill. That's the best thing going on the internet right now. Trust me. Paid subscribers get full access to our premium episode feed. And that's just every episode we don't necessarily want to share with the general public, if you know what I'm saying. Again, that's rarecandy.substack.com. We also have merch. That link's a little long for me to say right now, but go to the description, go to our merch store, and find a shirt that's right for you. We have Rare Candy shirts, Dr. Bronner soap label shirts, Rishi mushroom shirts, all types of stuff there. Check it out. There's got to be something for you. And lastly, check us out on social media. On Instagram, we're Rare Candy Pod, but on Twitter, we're at Rare Candy Pod 1. All right, enough of that. Let's get you back into the episode. Do you get pushback just from like painting girls? Because I feel like a lot of people are really mad when like a guy just is like, damn, I like this chick, I'm gonna paint her.
Yeah, and I mean that's sort of the like, I know we kind of set this up to talk about art. I don't really exist in the art world because a lot of that has this sort of like framing device around what the narrative of the paintings is and everything. I'm really just looking at images that I like and recreating them in a way that I think is beautiful and trying to imbue some of my own personality into that, but yeah, there's hey, have you thought about donating some of your sales to Planned Parenthood? Like, no,
no, yeah. I haven't thought. No, hasn't crossed my mind. Yeah, it hasn't crossed my mind.
This is what's it called? Pay feminism, right? Like,
yeah,
I gotta pay my reparations for using source material that doesn't hang between my legs.
Oh, imagine seeing that charge coming from your account, dude. Oh my god, your dick just falls off like a time-lapse deciduous tree, dude. Like just it's rough.
Well, you don't have to pay, but the rest of your work has to be created inside the manspreading chair. Is what we've
determined. The like medieval torture manspreading chair. Yeah, exactly.
Which in itself is a work of art. I mean, let's be honest.
Dude, that would be some meta art. I will paint you. I'm not a good painter, but I will paint you painting in the manspreading.
Yes.
And I will say this is the suffering man. This is by Glenn Rockney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're onto something. I think that would be great. No, I mean it's like the cool thing about getting pushed back is what happens when you get pushed back. You get pushed in another direction, right? Yeah. If you're smart, right? You can sit there and rage on the internet all day. Whatever. That's your prerogative. I just try and look at it like one door closes, another opens. And, they haven't got me yet. I'm still here.
And you own everything though, right? Like you have you're not, I know you have to go places to show your work. I mean, there's obviously some other people that need to be involved. So there's always that risk, but it's like a novelist, right? A novelist sits down and writes the novel, right? Where you hear a lot of novelists who have trouble being in rooms in terms of like screenwriting and stuff because they're in rooms with people and they're like, no, I'm used to me being like drunk at my computer or like drunk at my, writing something down with like a legal pad or something. But a painter, there's that like intimate setting where it's like, it's just me. I can fail or succeed all by myself. And a lot of times it's more failure than success if you're looking at it from the objective sense, but it's so much fun that way. Like it's kind of like what Psi and I do with this. It's completely up to us, and that's what's so fun.
Yeah, I'm sitting in a room surrounded by my unsold paintings.
What are you gonna do?
It's great. I love it. It's chaotic.
Yeah,
I think just to play devil's advocate, I think having input from others is extremely important. I have a lot of artist friends and people who help me with the technical side, but with the subject matter and whatnot, like it's just that's me, and that might be my Achilles heel. It's hard to sort of say. But
well,
I like it.
I think feedback is good when you can tell what's good faith and what's not. Like I feel like most people can. There's a lot of people that are hypersensitive that think any criticism or any sort of like, hey, I'm trying to help is masked in kind of like, actually I'm trying to destroy you, actually I'm trying to make you second guess everything, actually I'm just annoying, and actually this is my hobby. But a lot of times there are people that will just straight up like pull you kind of to the side or just talk to you. It's like, hey, would be sick if this happened. Like I think this would be cool or whatever. And it's up to you to take it or not. I mean, but I appreciate when people are like that. It's like, hey, one thing you might like is this. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen this or something. Check this out. This is something I think you'd like or whatever. Then there's people that are just needling. There are people that just needle to needle, you know, and that's the stuff sometimes the waters get a little muddy. You can't really see sometimes, but
yeah.
I think a lot of times you can.
Again, I'm just driven to create, you know. It's not like, oh, I want to do this to bother people or anything. It's just, this just seems like the thing, and I don't really know too many other people doing it, to be honest. So it's my lane. It may be small, but yeah, with the needling, you know, it's really not that bad. There's way more positive feedback than negative.
That's good.
But you always remember the negative stuff. That's human nature.
They multiply by 10, and then you take the positive stuff for granted when you're at your worst. That's always what happens. You take the positive stuff for granted, like, well, you're supposed to say that. You're my, you know, just kind of like and then the negative stuff is just like, oh, that was actually 40 people that said that. Oh, you know, no, it was one guy who sucks or is fine, but that's okay. Like, I mean, the best artists have a huge hater who might even be right a little bit about them, you know? Totally. That's the sad part. Sometimes your haters are a little bit right. And those are the ones that sting. That's the one that stings, honestly, is the one where they're right. But you know, I'm looking at some of your work. I follow you on Instagram. You have some cool stuff, and I think I want everyone to check out your work. And you know, you might be surprised. The RC folks, they have good taste. I'm just gonna say they have some good taste in art and movies and literature and stuff. So perhaps you may have some you know, random anonymous people asking to buy your paintings that, you know.
No, I really appreciate y'all giving me the platform to come on here tonight. You know, big fan of the show. I always like the Jack crossover episode.
The man.
The George Harrison episode. I was landing in New York and I was listening to y'all talk about this record that I'd never heard. I never heard All Things Must Pass. So I'm walking around New York City last year in November, listening to My Sweet Lord on repeat, and it was a fucking psychedelic experience, man.
Yeah,
that fucking song, man, that became like a top 10 song for me over that weekend, and it was just something that I would have never checked out because I say, oh, black and white George Harrison triple album. I don't know a thing about that. I don't want to, you know. And I know y'all just did a Thomas Pynchon episode. I rewatched Inherent Vice the other night, you know, and I'll be excited to check out that episode from y'all.
Yeah, we have a few. Yeah, we have a Pynchon. Pynchon is a I have a love-hate with Pynchon. And it's mostly love. It's mostly love because he wants you to kind of hate him a little bit. So like he likes to torture you. You're
like any good artist.
Yeah, exactly. There's a level. It's like, no, he can tell when you're a fake reader and when you're going to tap out at 150. So he throws a nasty little curveball at you early that gets the losers away, but then you realize you're like, I hate this guy, but I can't think about anything else for a month after I read it. So but you when we originally were talking about a little Pablo Picasso a little bit.
Oh yeah,
Pablo Picasso. I mean, I was just scanning. I know nothing about art. I can't do any of this stuff. However, his shit is sick, man. I mean, you look at it, it is really cool. I guess cubism is like a thing that people associate with it. For me, it just like, I was just looking at Guernica today, and I know that's probably not even like, I bet you that's like saying you like Sgt. Pepper as a Beatles fan. It's like, okay, cool. What else do you like? But I was looking at it and it's like, oh, it is unreal. So tell me why Picasso stuck out to you to come into the Amethyst Cave of Rare Candy Podcast. Yeah.
Well, I was trying to put together a few episodes and most of them fell through. So I pitched a few different painters to a few different podcasts. But Picasso has always been one of my favorites. And he's also been extremely, he's had his history rewritten in recent years in the criticism. So I wanted to come on and fight for my boy because a lot of it now is trying to like review him through the female lens of the women that he trampled over on his road to success, you know. That's sort of besides the point. Picasso was a fantastic painter in his teens, you know. If you look at his earliest work, it is hyper realistic, right? he figured out how to draw, he could replicate things from life. So this is sort of what launches him into the really interesting stuff, right? First, you get the blue period and the red period. So he's only using, you know, very monochromatic color palettes, either blue or red. I think red came first, but blue he's sort of more remembered for. You may remember the one with the guitar, the guy holding the guitar looking
Sure.
sad. He did that for a while. And then he and his friend Brock started Cubism. And this was how do we break down the image, right? And I think this is Cubism's sort of important today, especially on this dawn of AI, because now when you can create any image, right? Why do you make your art, right? So if the camera's coming around while Cubism's coming around, right? We can replicate things. What do I do as an artist to go further than the representational image, since now we can do it on film, right? So that was his thing for a while. He's breaking down things in these, you know, whether the art's that great or not, it's sort of, you know, it's either your thing or it's not. It's not my favorite era of his, but it's definitely sort of maybe the most memorable or most important, but influential, right? And I think he takes stuff from that Cubism period that he just then kind of applies to the rest of his work. And then you get into Guernica, you know, he finally is getting some success, right? Because he was really poor for a long time. I think people like to remember him like in the big house, you know, with the 20-year-old wife or whatever, you know, when he's in his 60s. But he had to get there first, you know. He was he was poor. He was poor, and he was also sort of an immigrant in his own country. He was sort of treated that way for a while. So he really had a lot of success, or sorry, did not have a lot of success just due to certain biases that were thrown his way. I mean, and I think that's a good thing to remember when you're an artist, you know. Once you get that success, it's helpful, but you kind of forget all the time that you spend struggling to get there, you know.
Yeah, and then at that point, then it's the inverse is also true. They're mad that he's the 60-year-old guy with the 20-year-old wife, and he's like, no, you don't get it. Like, this is why would I not do this now?
Well, I don't know if anyone cared back then when he was actually.
No, right. I'm talking,
you know
to an
I mean?
NYU student now, I guess, is who I'm talking to.
And it's like, I think the world is grappling with how to deal with Picasso, and it's sort of is a catch-22. Whereas in like this thing that we view the world through, I don't say we like me, but you know, you can say sort of general liberal discourse doesn't know what to do with a great artist like Picasso, because there's really no lens to look through him other than that he was kind of you know, he pulled himself up by his bootstraps, you know. So they want to reframe it either as, oh, he was sort of misogynist but he was influential, or oh, he was an immigrant, and you know, whatever. Like, that's all fine, but like, I don't think, you know, I think for Picasso at the end of the day, it still was always about the art, you know. And yeah, there was suffering through it, but the man really just wanted to be the best painter in the world, you know. And I think that's what kept him up at night.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like if you're trying to get rid of the Picasso kind of template, I mean, not everyone can do this, but it's kind of the fountainhead, right? It's like once you see somebody that can succeed this way, you got to just like step back and let them do it, you know, or else anything else you do is kind of hampering art, culture, any kind of, even just like industrialism, any kind of thing. You're hampering that for hundreds of years by trying to get your little feelers on it, you know. Whereas for the most part, you kind of, I mean, it sucks for people that try to get involved with this. Like if you marry Picasso, you're never married to Picasso, right? Like if you marry Picasso, you're kind of like, okay, I'm his flavor for right now. It sounds like a lot of his eras were influenced by his love, which that's not you know, that's not uncommon for artists, especially painters and stuff. Of course, you're going to be doing that stuff, but for the most part, it's like there are casualties along the way, but it's kind of the price you have to pay.
Well, they're that third thing, you know. He's married to painting. I think that's the same for me. You know what I mean? Like I've never had a person kind of supersede my desire to create. You know, it's
Yeah.
been lonely. You know, it's been lonely in my life, and you know, maybe painting all the women is sort of my surrogate for having a relationship, because I've been very averse to those in my life. You know, it just happened. People really haven't stuck around too long. Um, you know, and I think if I'm sort of prickly. You know, there's something not quite right with the world, or there's not something quite right with me, and art has become that sort of thing to mediate that difference I see between my reality and sort of my actual reality, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting because I don't have the visual eye that any painter would be, but I know people who do have it, and I think it's fascinating. Now, sound is more my thing, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
same way. Now, I am happily married, but my wife understands I need this.
Yeah.
I have to have an outlet. She's seen me without one, and it's not fun to be around. And I'm not an abusive person. I tear myself up from within.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a person. I'm Picasso's guitar guy. That's what I am.
Yeah.
When I don't have an outlet or something, I'm just the sad kind of guy with the guitar, whatever the guitar is. And that's the happy medium, I think. And it's rare. It's really rare because a lot of people might think that they are happy with what you do. Oh, I love that you do that. I love that you do that. They don't realize that you're kind of stunted when that
Yeah.
happens. It's like, no,
Yeah.
this isn't. I'm not going to grow out of this.
Yeah.
Like I'm a
Absolutely.
psycho. I'm a little bit of a psycho, and everybody has their hangups. But I think when people are actually creatives, and I'm not even trying to insert myself as like a creative. I just mean anybody who spends time doing something other than the traditional stuff that people do. People view it as they want to escape from the person. It's not that. It's just part of who you are.
Yeah, like smiling, like you're enjoying this way more than I
Yeah, exactly. So more about Picasso. I do find his like relationship history kind of interesting. Just around all these people, these like random kind of art hoes. I'll say it. The art hoes have been around forever,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy. Like that, it is something like people can say they can't stand art hoes now. It's like, well, then you hate every moment of society ever, then, because they've been apparent in all of them, except for like the evil anti-art societies. Maybe they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
They might just be running the world at that point. So what's the there's kind of a trade-off there. What would you rather have? But there was one where he was like, he even got in like the good graces of Gertrude Stein, which I didn't think any man could. Like, she was like, yeah, he was cool. I was like, damn, can you imagine trying to get pussy with Gertrude Stein around? It's not happening, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like a
Total cock
linebacker.
block.
Yeah, she's like a linebacker feminist, dude. She's scary. But yeah, I really it's funny because, like, okay, why? Here's the thing. I know I like Picasso. I look at it, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I like it though? I know you've said some of the technical things, but like, to me, I've never been able to put into words why I think something looks cool. And I know there's kind of a Giga Chad yes thing that I can do for it, but I am interested in why I think something looks cool, you know?
Well, I think he is extremely imaginative, and I think he has some quote where he said, "I learned how to paint like a master in like 5 years, but it took me a lifetime to learn how to paint like a child."
Oh,
So, or look at it like in the Jim Carrey kind of like thing, you know, right? It's like when you get to the top of the game, what do you do? So he worked backwards from there. And I think his openness to imagination and experimentation makes his paintings extremely relatable, because there is that element of like, oh, I could do that, right? Because you could actually, right? So it's like, well, why, right? So why then, right? And I think that's really the beauty in the art, right? This is stuff I get stuck up on too. Oh, I can't draw that hand. Then I spend an hour and a half drawing a hand, and I'm like, wait, well, what was even the point of this painting in the first place, right? Is the point of this painting to like work on how well I can do hands, or was there some sort of essence to the image I'm working from that I wanted to replicate here? So, you know, that's a constant work in progress.
yeah.
And I think that's something Picasso is like, oh yeah, I'm going to draw this person flat with their eye up here and the eye here and their mouth here, because that's how I feel about it right now. And I'm going to leave it at that. And here's some big ass brush strokes and some bold colors, because I'm loud. I'm 5'4" and I want to take up the room, right? He's a short king.
Nice.
And you know, and also he painted for like 6 decades, right? So, like, how many artists actually can kind of, you know, you say Kanye or David Lynch, I throw Francis Bacon in there, another great painter. Um, but he never got stuck in an era, you know, he was always
Yeah.
able to sort of
Mm-hmm.
shed his skin and continue to move on. I think
Yeah.
he lived to be 90 at
Yeah.
least. So
He kind of won, dude. He kind of won.
yeah,
It's
that's what I'm
pretty
saying.
tough.
I mean,
Pretty
like you
tough to
kind of,
say. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like that's the thing with art, man. It's like it's a juggling thing. You got to be able to let go. You know, I think as soon as you get something good, you got to be willing to step back a little bit and be like, well, could I blow this up? Could I still, you know what I mean? Like, can I tear this whole thing down and
Mhm.
start over? And I think that's a really impressive quality to have. And again, to get back to your art question, I think people just naturally kind of can identify with that, no matter what your political leaning is or whatever. Like, if you're someone who really is kind of tough and, you know, won't die lying down, I think people on both sides can respect that. And it's something I try and live by myself.
Yeah, that's great. Now, so I wanted to ask you because you play guitar, and I know Dakota here plays guitar.
Yeah.
When he was talking about the hand, he was talking about like drawing the hand and kind of making kind of focusing on one part of it rather than viewing something holistically. Kind of attack, just forest for the trees. You know, all these kind of metaphors. Like, do you get hung up on stuff like that ever?
Interesting timing because I just started taking lessons with a flamenco guy in Spain, which Spain, right?
Not to brag, yeah.
Well, no, I mean it's like I'm not like good, it's like it's the opposite of that. It's but no, it's well, you met my guitar teacher buddy, right?
I did,
and I was like, dude, I want to keep learning from because we always kept in touch, and I'm like, just I'll pay you, let's just Zoom and like, and he's like, no, I mean, dude, go to this dude because I'm taking lessons from this dude. Like I'll hook you up here.
Oh,
And so anyway, I just think it's funny because I just had it this morning, and from Spain, like Picasso. But I guess the details thing is fun when you're having fun with it, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're like, we're just obsessing over these like weird polyrhythms and stuff, and it's so frustrating. But then it clicks, and then it's like a whole new channel inside your brain unlocks, and it's like whoa, and then but very in like a non-snobby way, which is not fun at all. And I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but I got into Picasso because of Miles Davis, actually. So that's kind of a funny thing too.
Spain, dude.
Yep, yeah, and just reading his biography, and because they're kind of the same dude in a lot of ways, and you could tell Miles looked at Picasso and was like, "Yo, that's my guy right there." He's just kind of he's like, "That's my guy."
How tall was Miles Davis?
He was pretty short. Yeah. I don't think he was not. Yeah,
hairline was going back a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah, same proclivities, same kind of
sure.
Yeah, and wow. Miles was, I don't know, Dakota. He was kind of a goofy artist in his later years himself. Mm-hmm. And as like a famous dude, he's like, I'm an artist, quote unquote. And Quincy Jones would be like, I'll buy that for $2 million, like that kind of thing. But they're funky. They're like interesting paintings, very Picasso-like, and I'd recommend anyone check it out. It's a funny little era. But yeah, the details, like the hand, I do think that like part of that process of being whatever artist you are is you do have to kind of get lost in the weeds on stuff that won't matter. Mm-hmm. But it does matter, and it's kind of, and then but it's that constant influx of like zooming way in and then realizing it doesn't matter and then zooming out. And the worst type of people are the people that can't zoom out and they just spend a lifetime just trying to master drawing hands, and then no one cares about
that's out of fear, by the way, too. And that's a fear thing. That's a fear of completion a lot of times, for it to ever actually complete the task and have somebody look at it and or to put it out there. And I everybody runs into it, but a lot of times you're scared of actually moving on to the next thing or even chalking something up as a loss or something, but you get caught up, well, if I could just get the hand right. And the hand, we keep saying the hand, but we're talking, it could be anything. It could be the the tom drum, the way I come off the tom drum when I'm drumming, any of this stuff, right? Like it's
music theory. I got to master music theory. I
have to do this. I cannot put this. It's like no. A lot of there is a quantity element to art, whether you show it to people or not. But you need to constantly be like working through things. I feel like, you know,
Yeah.
like, and just kind of, okay, I'm done with that. I'm going to go to something else. And maybe you come back, maybe something else comes back and you do it. It's not always the cleanest process, but I always see this fear in people that get caught up on one thing all the time. And they end up kind of just, they're fearing somebody looking at it and noticing the hand.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, sometimes that's going to happen. And then
Yeah.
guess what? You might get the hand perfect. They're going to go, what's up with that guy's neck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason they call it work of art, right?
Yes.
I'm very religious about getting through paintings. I really don't like getting hung up on things. And yeah, just gotta move on a lot of the times. You know, I have a Discord of other painters and I go, oh well, this sucks. And then, you know, they'll be like, oh well, that's great. So it's really, I don't know. Even I think what I think about it is not even that important a lot of the time. Because, you know, other people, again, they'll look at the neck, you know, they'll hear something completely different. And just getting through and building that discipline to kind of know that point where you're like, all right, this isn't probably about as good as it's going to be, right? And move on from there. Because if you're confident in the work, you're going to come back to this subject matter at some point and you'll probably do it better then, you know, and you'll take what you learn from there. There's nothing worse than people that just sit on work. Like, what's the point? It's a hobby.
Yeah.
It's a hobby at that point, you know. Like,
but they can never shut up about it. That's the problem. My thing is the guy. Like, it's fine. Look, there are people who just never want to put anything out. They want to put stuff in their house. They want to do that. Hey, I'm so fine with that. That's so cool. But then there's always that guy. It's like, oh, dude, the thing I'm working on. So, and then you don't hear about shit for like 6 months. And then you're like, what's up with that thing you're working on? You're like, I mean, I got caught. And then it becomes this like kind of like almost like they care too much to put it out, and they're like, oh well, the thing is I'm such a stickler for this, and it's like, nah, you're scared. You know, you're scared somebody's gonna hate and beat you to the punch almost of hating your own work or hating it. And it doesn't even have to be all work. There are people who just conduct themselves as people like this. You know, it's I don't know, but Picasso sure wasn't scared, I'll tell you that much. He I'm sure he dealt with some fear, but you know, I'd imagine, especially as like getting successful. I mean, and the fact is, dude, that dude had to look Nazi Germany in the face while he was painting and just being like, the funniest thing is there's the Nazis went up to him when he painted Guernica or whatever, and he was just like, "Did you paint this?" And he's like, "Nah." They're like, "Dude, come on, it's Picasso. like this shit is a Picasso painting." And he's like, I got a lot of biters, dude. What do you want me to say? Like, a lot of people.
There's
like
your signature at 6 feet long.
Yeah. It's like, it could have been anybody. I mean, dude. Yeah, AI, dude, in like 1937. He's like, AI is getting crazy. But yeah, you had to like deal with these like real issues. But you see people now where there's people now that think the world's burning. You know, and look, we all have things we're scared of happening in the world. There is an alarmist state, even though I think there's a lot of people now who are just like, I'm going to paint an abortion that my friend had, but I fear that I'm going to get this backlash. And it's like, it's almost manufacturing this Guernica state of like World War II for everything. And I know artists are sensitive. They are, of course. It's a classic thing. You know, they are sensitive. So perhaps they do genuinely feel this. But this guy Picasso went through it for real.
Yeah, I mean, there's always someone that suffered worse than you.
From the 5 to the 6, we be in the mix with that red candy paint job on the whip. I need food for the kids, money for the rent. Fuck a lockdown, baby, can't do that shit.
Yeah, he lived in a cave too. I thought that was interesting. I was looking him up. He lived in a cave in like 1898. Like he was on some like Blood Meridian shit. Like he was just out there, like whether he had to or not. I mean, he didn't, you know, he wanted to make money. Whether he had to or not, I don't know. I'm sure he did, but he just would. It seems like he was kind of like a Hemingway-ish guy, but like was able to kind of not let it consume him to that. Where like Hemingway is like, I'm a boxer, I'm this and I'm that, I'm putting myself everywhere, and obviously this brilliant writer. But then, you know, Hemingway didn't end as well for him, you know. It's and that, but Picasso made it to 91 and died of just like heart failure, where you're just like your heart stops. You know, if your heart stops in your 60s, it's usually, you know, there's usually something that happened, you know, or you know, a lot of things that happened. But for him to it was just like 91, I'm out. And then you look at his life. I truly didn't know anything about him other than just a few famous paintings, and I'm fascinated with him. Like I feel like a guy who just discovered the Beatles, you know, like who's like lived in a third world country and didn't know what the Beatles were until like maybe All Things Must Pass fell out of a plane or something, and or something. But yeah, when did you first get into him, Dakota? Like when's like I mean, obviously everyone knows who he is, but like when's the first time you really just were like, man, this guy's as good as everyone says he is?
I mean, I was a kid and we had this art project where I had to make a felt hand puppet in the style of Picasso. And this thing stuck around for years with the lips here and two
Yeah.
eyes. You know, it's like I was either something we did in art class or some project my mom found on the internet that she thought would be fun. So, you know, I've got like 2-year-old, I'm like 2 years old holding a paintbrush, right? My mom tells me these stories about how my dad worked in a print shop. So he'd bring home these big spreads of paper and I would just draw. So I think I've always been aware of Picasso on some level. I think probably when I started to seriously consider art as a career 7 years ago, you know, this was one of the first. I kind of was like that. Van Gogh and Francis Bacon were kind of my three like major influences to start. And yeah, just to sort of like I was really lucky. I got to see a whole life retrospective of him in New York last year. And they had paintings from every era of his career, right? And it was like in 6 rooms. It was beautiful. And you don't see him in the photos of it as much, but his last paintings that he did when he was probably in his 70s or 80s, they're huge. They're probably 6 feet tall. And you just see how messy they are. There's just like, here's red. And it's just like, you know, it's just, he really didn't give a fuck at that point.
Yeah.
Or he gave a lot of fucks and really knew what his visual language was. You know, it's a really cool thing about painting is sort of getting things to read, right? And that's sort of like, if I get
what
up
do you mean? I'm sorry. What do you mean by getting things to read? I think I get it, but I'd like
if you
to
get
hear
up
more.
close to the painting, it looks like a mess, right? And you take a few steps back, it comes together. And that's sort of that beautiful,
Interesting,
happy space. Let's get back to hands. Hands are really hard for me. So if I can get some shadows kind of in the right area of where the hand is, I can trick it and make it look like a hand. If you look up close, it doesn't look like a hand. But if you look at the piece as a whole, you go, oh, that's a hand. And more importantly, it doesn't look like I tried to paint a hand 8 times where the hand is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. That's a good point. I don't even see, that's something I would never notice, but like, you know, your contemporaries would be like, he tried 8 times there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff sticks out and you're like, well, that is really awkward, right? It's
Mhm.
like when you try to force something in art, maybe your skills aren't there, or maybe it's just not meant to be, you know? It's really hard to read that in the moment.
Do you think so? Is that so? AI has famously had trouble
Bad
with
hands.
with hands, right? Is that the same thing? I'm not asking you to say how AI works. I just mean I find that interesting because I've always said you can always tell these doctored photos. A lot of times it's people getting duped by like OnlyFans girls that are AI, but like their hands look all wrong, you know, or something. And I wonder if it's the same thing. Like if it's just even the computer struggles with hands. It's crazy.
There's something about it. There's something about the way these shadows are, right? I don't know why it's so difficult. It's really hard to get like a black line here, right? So it's like, if I can put down this color here and then just put the highlights in here, that'll read a lot better versus if I try and do each individual finger. I don't know how AI works, but I assume it's something like that. Because I see it in the clothes too. There's AI like ads for clothes and the wrinkles look really odd.
Yeah.
I think it's something in the shadows, something in the way colors come together in shadows and sort of that like those mid tones. And probably just doesn't know how to do it too well.
It's so funny that people do that too, like AI for like clothing ads. It's like, you can't just give a guy a sweatshirt and take a picture of him, like, you know what I mean? It's not that like, it's just so weird to me.
We're
Like,
about to lose so many jobs to AI. I mean, I'm not
are
really
you an
even,
alarmist? Are
I'm
you an
not
alarmist?
I'm not even an AI alarmist. I just think anyone obviously could see that any like background work in movies or ads, like
Yeah.
why would I pay a guy when I could generate one? It's
And then the audience gets used to it, right? The audience
yeah.
that's always my problem, is that like the audience loses the ability to go after a while. Right now, a lot of people can go, oh, Furiosa, which is a movie I actually liked, that they has AI. Oh, okay, blah blah blah. We all saw it, but I think 10 years from now, people will just get so used to AI slop that they'll just either A, not care, or B, just be like, oh, I didn't even notice that, and then there's all these people that don't have jobs, these people that could become creatives on their own right, that start doing a certain part of a film, or working in art or something, and we lose that. And I don't know that people are ready. I don't know that there's a counter for that yet, like a kind of a counter in the art world for that, because I see a lot of people that were otherwise like, we'll see, people real recognize real, and I'm just like, have you seen what people have fallen for in the last 4 years?
Well, you're either going to be really exceptional or not very exceptional, right? I think like that's the only way you can kind of look at it. You can either be, oh, I'm going to be so great that I can't get replaced by AI, or I'll go, well, there's no honest work anymore. I'm just going to go watch TV all day.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. So many people don't fucking notice motion smoothing in movies on newer TVs. That stuck out to me immediately. I still hate it. My mom fucking watches these movies. I'm like, you gotta turn that off.
Dude.
On this 80-inch screen, everything looks like it's a soap opera, and I hate it.
Why do they do that? The boomers love the motion smoothing. I think it justifies the TV purchase to them. Is that what it does to? I don't know why they
I thought
all
it was
do
for
it.
video games. I thought it was
that makes
like
sense.
video games, but like when it's applied to a film, it doesn't look right.
Well, no, it's almost like the whistle where they can't hear it. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like a dog whistle for us. It's like a dog whistle. Yeah, it's like when
I'm a real noticer, though. I was one of the first responders on the interracial advertisements on TV. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Thank you for your service. No, never forget.
It's like yelling at my mom was like a beer man. What the fuck is? I fucking hate the Emmys.
This is a Land's End catalog. Yeah,
dude, it's crazy.
World's End.
I was yeah, World's End. I was forced to watch the was it the Emmys, or the Emmys is the one, the TV one, right? Yeah, it was just on at a place I was at, and it's just all the same stuff. It's like, it's funny, but people are tired. People claim they're tired of like anti-woke stuff, but it's still just the same at that level. None of it's progressed in 15 years. And I was just like looking around like, what is happening?
Dude, it's rough.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's either so people on TV, they either watch this like kind of Netflix woke slop, or they watch Rob Lowe working for a fire department or a hospital. He's in like 2 shows where like it's either fire department, any sort of first responder, any sort of thing. It's that those are the 2 things people watch on like actual network TV that like will be on, be on for 10, 15 years. And you might even say you want the first responder show, but who knows what's happening on that show? I have no idea what's even happening there. But, I guess for me, my outlook is not what can change right now. It's what can set a precedent for like the next 10 years. So it's kind of, hopefully people get sick of just AI, and hopefully people just kind of like, I love that Francis Ford Coppola has Megalopolis come out. I don't know if I like it yet. I'm going to be seated for it because that dude is a monster, and they're already trying to Me Too him on the set. They're already trying to do all the things that the contrarian in me knows, like, he might have a little hit on his hand. And I know this is a guy who, made Apocalypse Now when everybody else would have quit after far less for the film. But I just, look, he's 80 years old, so maybe he's not the guy in the next 10 years. But I think there's people that get inspired by those people rather than people that be like, I think I want to go get on the set of Chicago Fire, and which, whatever, go ahead, try it. It's just, you might get stuck there. But I will say this is I had morbid curiosity if AI could make Picasso, and this is what came up.
Yeah, pretty good.
It's not bad, dude.
There's a flatness though. I've had it generate paintings before. There's a flatness. Again though, people don't go and they don't go to museums, right? So if you're just looking at images on your phone, you're not going to see the texture, right?
Mhm.
Like those are some of the most spiritual experiences. Just go to a nice art museum
Yeah,
and don't read what they're writing about it. Don't read that. It's not good.
Okay.
But just look at it, right? They'll reframe it in some way that, is a little undesirable. But,
Is texture racist? My
oh
column.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, no, it's like, well, I've got so many anecdotes. They're not important. But yeah, I think the texture of a painting, that's been like, again, with the whole like how does it read thing, like going to see some of the great paintings, like a Sargent or a Francis Bacon painting or a Picasso, and just getting as close to it as they can before the guy comes over and yells at you for being too close. That's I think how you learn how to paint, if you really care about it. I think that's a good way to do it, because then you see how it's there's a lot of really cool music podcasts like that exploding the song, right? It's like when you can look at the thing and take it apart and see the different pieces, right, and how it comes together. That's how you're going to be able to introduce that type of complexity and thought into your own work, because you can go, oh yeah, Picasso, it's just lines and I could do it in 5 minutes, right? And you can, but then it will look like a painting that was done in 5 minutes, right? So even if it's a mess, you can still tell like there's some work and some thought. And that might be a completely other conversation again with the AI thing. It's like, is there value in spending time on things? I don't really know the answer to that.
Well, we live in an efficiency culture. I mean, that's what
do.
it is, and it's actually kind of a dopamine neuroses addiction that's masked in efficiency. Like I know so many people that can't just sit on something for too long, and some of it is ADHD kind of whatever that means in this world. But some of it is that, but some of it is just like they need to they can't just like commit an hour to something, but they can commit an hour to do a million bad, stupid things that aren't like but just as long as it feels like they've done a bunch of things, they feel satisfied. But then also nobody feels satisfied randomly. Like at the end of the day, they can't sleep at night. They make a bunch of poor decisions because they have a weird dopamine stack, right? Where it's just, I gotta listen to this, watch this, do this, and it's just, you'll see people that do it in a lazy fashion, and then you'll see like the Huberman style people who you need to wake up at 4 a.m, you need to do all this, when really it's like, man, no, just find a few things you want to do and actually commit to them, and kind of budget your time, but also don't, if you want to do something for longer than an hour, do it for longer than an hour. I feel like there's a lot of people that kind of I don't know how I'm trying to put it, but they're just so into this like efficiency where it's like we got to just constantly be moving and moving and moving and moving, and it's just kind of going into a void.
One good girl is worth 1,000 bitches.
It's true.
Once said.
Yeah, The Life of Pablo.
That's right. Which one?
I mean, I'm guessing that's Picasso. I don't know. I actually want to. I'm not a. I can't say I'm like the biggest Kanye fan. However, I do like The Life of Pablo. I actually love that album. Like when it came out, I was like, man, a lot of people really, when it first came out, people were like, this is unfinished. And I think maybe it was, but I love
Little did they know what was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly, dude. But come on, dude. Father Stretch My Hands.
Yeah,
like, I mean, come
so
on,
good.
man. These are great. These are great albums. But now with Picasso, what is the retcon? The retcon is obviously he's abuser,
Yeah.
but also with his art itself, the people never just say. They always say, the separate art for the artist. No, the art is the artist, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a tireless argument. What they do is they do separate the art from the artist, but they take both down simultaneously, is what I've noticed with a lot of people. They do this with Roman Polanski all the time. I just saw the other day Roman Polanski. They're like, he's a pedophile. Also, Chinatown could have just been Chinatown is great because of the script only. Anybody could have shot that. Wrong. It's incorrect. That's incorrect. That's the case. Do they do that with Picasso as well? Can anyone paint his paintings, and is he bad? Do they do that?
Yeah, they do. They
Oh, God.
say there were just as good artists around at the same time that don't get the same praise that he does. I don't know who these painters are, but that's what I hear.
Wasn't he like friends with a lot of like of the contemporaries too? Like I thought he
Oh,
was
totally.
I thought he was cool with a lot of the like the I mean the names are escaping me, but it sounded like he wasn't like some recluse that nobody hung out with. Like he was around everybody. He was like seemed like he was showing up at all the spots for the most part and kind of, you know, being seen.
He's probably the most important painter of the
Sure.
20th century. I mean, I think a lot of art today is just kind of, I don't really know the state of art today, I'll be honest. There's a lot of like internet paintings now,
Sure.
which are cool, you know. People paint Halo screenshots and stuff. And that's a thing. But like
it is.
It's a thing. It's fine. You know, like that's new. This is
that's better than what a lot of people could be doing, though. Like I would rather of someone be hyper focused on Halos. Like I'm going to paint Halo. Otherwise, dude, they're some of those people are going to dive into some worse habits, I think. And it's like I'm so into like people just kind of stepping away from modernity for a second to just kind of do something classic.
Guys need things.
Guys need things. I love that.
They do. And I'm so blessed. I don't know how people live without creativity.
I tried.
You know?
I tried. It's bad. It's
you
really bad.
You were the bad guy holding the guitar.
Kafka-esque nightmare in my head every single day.
It's horrible whenever I hit a rough patch where I'm like, I'm finished. That is a really tough space to be in, because my biggest fear is having my ability to create work taken away from me, you know. But the good thing is that I don't think that can happen till I die. You know, I could be, you know, Andrew Tate locked in a jail cell, writing a novel on toilet paper. You know, it's like there's, I don't know, people have survived in worse situations than today.
Do you ever have fantasies about that? Do you ever like slight little fantasies of like having everything taken away but still finding a way? I do sometimes.
I do.
Where like
every day
during peak like COVID censorship and like just anytime there's a big like current thing censorship wave on like YouTube and stuff, I always think about like, what if I fucking got my tape recorder out and then just made 1 million copies and sent it, got addresses for people and sent it, and RC was completely physical and stuff, and like, yeah, I would probably go mad, but it would probably be sick. But then it would suck that that all the losers got to keep their YouTube channels and not me. I'd still be mad about that. But yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, there's a constant feeling of being left out because of just the way I am, you know, like.
What are you though? You seem cool. Like
I am cool. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been an hour. I feel like, you know, after 30 minutes I'd have been like, fuck this guy, dude. What the hell? But no,
I mean, probably a lot of it's just fucking self-generated. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, everyone has that inferiority complex, or what's the word?
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're your harshest critic.
Imposter syndrome.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
But also, it's like, I don't really, you know, it's like I've got a couple friends who are further along in their art career than mine, and one guy was represented by a gallery, and he painted George Floyd, and everyone got mad at him, but they stuck by him, you know, and he's still at that gallery.
They got mad at him for painting George Floyd?
Well, it wasn't in
gotcha.
You know, it wasn't like a mural of George Floyd kind of thing.
It wasn't a mural with an IPA in his hand.
It might have been. I don't think it was a negative thing. It might have just been more kind of plainly presenting things.
I see.
I don't remember the piece personally, but I heard about this. You know, but that's sort of off topic.
It's all right. I wanted to hear about that.
You know what I mean? Like, but it's like it's sort of up to your team to kind of stand by you when shit hits the fan. You know, like Kendrick said, if shit hit the fan, you still a fan. We all have dark stuff in our past, and we've all fucked up. And I think you know, the sort of puritanical holding some certain people to certain standards and letting others go is sort of what you're talking about with you feeling like you might lose your YouTube channel, like in your dark fantasy. Like you know, you either feel like you're one of the good guys or you feel like you're one of the bad guys, you know? And I mean, a lot of times I do kind of feel like I'm one of the bad guys, and I just kind of operate in that headspace, whether or not I have the facts to back that up, you know? I struggled with alcohol for fucking like 12 years, you know? So there's a lot of wreckage personally that I caused from that, you know? But I'm trying to work through that.
Alcohol and painting though, it's so like, I mean, I'm not even. This is so mean to say to somebody who's like struggles with like alcohol, but like, how awesome is that a pairing though? Like, geez,
No, I
dude.
mean, it was great. I mean, like,
Yeah,
during
yeah.
COVID,
It's like, damn.
COVID was, I woke up, I was making $800 a week from the government. I kept my Donald Trump signed checks, right? They were so cool. Uh, but like, I wake up, puke, go paint till about
Oh,
5, and then like make myself a Manhattan, or just start doing Bud Light and whiskey. And I lived out on a farm at the time, so it'd be like start a bonfire and like put on some Silver Jews or some 90s music, right?
okay.
And
Well, you
like
lost
get
me
drunk.
there, but yeah.
No David Byrne fans here, I guess. So that's
Dude,
fine.
that is the most controversial take I've had on this podcast amongst the fan, like amongst the people that actually like us. They're like, Glenn, you got to get into Silver Jews. I'm like, I tried. I can't
Just can't
listen
get
to
it.
it. I
Well,
cannot.
we'll just, you know,
I can't
throw
do
another
alt
90s band in
country.
there.
I can't
Luna
do
or
alt.
something, you know.
Yeah, no, I love a lot of stuff. Regardless, I'm more
You
interested
lost
in.
me there.
I'm more. Yeah, everything else sounded fun until then.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
but no, anyways,
What
the
is this? This is the room America died in.
okay,
That's his
okay,
famous quote.
but you were, but okay, so I know like novelists have the same thing. They're just like, I mean, did it unlock the creativity, or did you just make you feel like more yourself? You know, like just being kind of hammered.
I was just doing the Francis Bacon thing. He was a English painter. He was very troubled, and he was like gay and like just but into the S&M thing, right?
Oh,
He'd always have some like fucking like criminal boyfriend, right? But he was this little like twink painter, but he would just wake up early and paint all day, and then he'd go out and he'd go to the gambling halls and get wasted, and he made it to his 90s, and I thought that that was a pretty good model. I thought that would work for
oh,
me. You know what I mean?
I see. It doesn't destroy everybody.
It doesn't
Doesn't
destroy
just
everybody.
I hear you, dude. That's interesting. Now, so are you sober now?
I am sober now.
That's good. And now, is it harder to get in the zone, or was that always? I
No,
noticed
because I never painted when I was drinking. You know,
because you
I've always
stopped at 5 and
you know
would
what
get
I mean.
yeah.
I've always separated the two. I've never felt like I was
Interesting.
more creative, or when if I smoked, right? If I got high, I just couldn't keep it together. So yeah, it was very like workaholic, alcoholic kind of dichotomy thing going on there for a while. And I remember like right in January, like right before I stopped, you know, I was just like white knuckling it, driving out to my art studio. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, you know. I think my art's way better now, you know. There's
Yeah.
no way.
I noticed that's the case for a lot of people. I mean, I noticed there's so many people that think they're going to lose the thing that they create, or they're not going to be themselves. Now, you know, I'd imagine you're not nearly as social when you're like, I know for a lot of people, they say they lose a lot of their social life because a lot of their friends like to get hammered and stuff, and that maybe not everyone quits at the same time. But I notice for people who think that they're not as creative this way, it's kind of just a reason for them to keep going with the poor lifestyle rather than it actually hindering production. Because I you know, you see a lot of artists, you know, everyone's like, oh, Eminem, once Eminem got sober, he sucked. But it's like, yeah, he also got Trump derangement syndrome. So, you know, you be the judge of why he sucks. You know, it's just there's always other factors that you don't need these substances, you know.
I mean, I'm good at art, but I'm not good at being sober. I'm not good at being like a good house guest, right? So it was a sort of thing where like I need to take some time and step away and work on some of these things, because it's like I always thought that I could be a good artist and fucking get away with bad behavior, and my good art would be enough to keep me in the good graces of people, and it's just not true.
Yeah, it's not. You mean even the best artists, like you'll hear them and you'll just be like, man, I love their work. like a lot of novelists are like this, where it's just like, man, nobody wanted to be around this fucking guy
Yeah.
after a while, you know, and like they'll be like, just let me know when the book comes out, man, you know, like shit, I'll read that maybe. Otherwise, I'm thinking about what a drunk disaster you are or something. But you said January was when you got sober of this year.
It was February.
Well, but
January is
it's
the beginning
it's
of the
a it's
a
it was
newish thing.
a newer thing.
Well,
Okay,
January
Well,
6th.
January 6th.
No, I mean, I had gotten sober. I was California sober for like a year and a half.
Nice.
Back in 2021. And then I went back out, and then I got my second DUI, and then I was like, well, that's enough of that. It was either quit driving or quit drinking, and I think I'm gonna have to use a car at some point in my life. So
yeah,
I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just fucked. It's just kind of fucked.
Those
I can't
fucking DUIs, man. Oof,
I can't
man.
explain it.
Yeah. But is it tough though? I mean, is it really tough? Because I have like I like to have a couple beers here and there. I wouldn't consider myself dependent on it or anything. But
That's
is
sort
it
of the thing, man. You're probably not an alcoholic.
But I mean, I just mean it for a sense, like how tough is it? I mean, just I love to hear. I hear about this with Jared Klickstein. Alcohol was never his thing, so it's different. I mean, he was into hardcore drugs, so like I know how tough those can be. But just like that day it hits 5 o'clock and you're just like, fuck, you know, like, is it still that way? Like, is that,
No, I mean, I think the hardest days are just the ones where I can get to the gym and can have some social life and can get to do some art or do some music, and I still feel bad, it's those kind of more kind of like middling days. I'm really lucky to have a really good support system in my life. I do have a lot of friends. I'm close with my family, and they've just been able to help me get through it, and also just God. And I think diving into the spiritual relationship, it's like I was identified with the idea of God, but I never really knew how to practice it. And I've been able to learn in sobriety some more kind of ways to kind of grow in that, and just throwing up more of my fear to God, more of like, oh, this isn't going to work out. I'm never going to get this right. And realizing I don't want to be a good painter. I just want love, and there's somewhere where that wire got crossed in the wrong way, where I equated working hard all the time on art and music as my way to get love. And then I ended up really lonely. So it's like I have to make sure to leave space to do the things I'm not as good at that do actually bring me closer to people.
And even well, what's great about it all too is if you truly believe in God and look, sometimes it takes. Sometimes the way God enters your life is scary. I mean, it's not always this like lights like the movies and stuff. Like sometimes it's really scary. Like it just everybody's got their way. But God, we are God fearing. When you're a Christian, you are a God fearing Christian. But like you fear failing Him in a sense rather than like His actual wrath. To me, I don't fear the wrath of God. I just fear knowing that He's there and me just pretending He's not. And like that's like truly the fear that I have is just kind of operating as though nothing matters, this kind of nihilist attitude, which I can beat myself into sometimes. And just conducting, that's when I feel like I get the wrath of God, is when I just openly just go and do this and become like this kind of like dorky materialist and like self-hating, and all that, and realizing that. But I don't know this. Whenever there's this like online culture of like, you need to be the Catholic, you need to be this and that, and like that's how I was raised. But I wasn't. People weren't worried about what kind of veil to wear at the wedding. Like this is like this new New York thing that they do. I have no idea what that is. But for the most part,
are you talking about the Red Scare question?
No. Oh well, that did pop up, but I've heard like many people talking about like this veil.
I just listened to that today.
Yeah, who gives a shit? Like I just like it's just such a it's such a way for people to just say like, and this was we're referencing a caller to their love line said like, I'm a Catholic, and they asked Dasha, who is a Catholic, what veil is traditional to wear, and I'm just like, that's just such a way to tell everybody that you're just so holy, and that's what gives everybody this stigma. But really, it's like, man, if you just kind of God's there to transfer a lot of the weight that you put on yourself
That
onto
kind of
him.
gets back to the question or the comment about the people who say they're doing the work versus the people who are actually doing the work.
Yeah.
Like, how can I tell you guys that I'm Catholic by
Yes.
doing none of the actual work to be Catholic, right? No, I read something interesting the other day where it was like we get punished by our sins versus for our sins,
Yes.
right? And
Agreed.
I think that's a really great way to kind of demystify God to a lot of people. Is like, what are you doing that's fucking up your life? Do you really need that in your life? If the answer is no, maybe you can try not living that way, right? So if I'm an angry, upset, impatient person all the time, I'm getting the results of living my life like that. And that leads me to drinking, right? So I have to learn how to work well with others, be a little more patient, and be a little more humble to hopefully not take me back into that cycle of addiction.
You know,
And I think that applies to painting too.
I agree. And I was looking up I was looking up Picasso's spiritual beliefs, and Psi and I have come to this question or come to this conclusion about a lot of people is I think there's a level of greatness, and I just finished The Fountainhead, so it's in there as well. But there's this level of like greatness, even an IQ number, perhaps not a number I care about, but IQ number, where like I think some people are too smart or too talented to believe in God sometimes. And because like if you're Picasso and you kind of have to humble yourself a little bit to become a believer in God. I don't think you have to do it as much as people say. I think there's more of a organized religion thing that you would want to humble yourself for, if that's the case. But, you know, Michel Houellebecq, you know, all these people that are really smart, they kind of like, I think they acknowledge that maybe something's out there, but they're like, I can't just chalk this all up to God, you know? And I'm glad I'm not that smart. I'll just say that much, because I know there's way too many things in my life that I cannot explain.
You got to leave room for other people. I mean, like, I'm a conduit of fucking paint and images, and the only reason you're interviewing me is because you can't interview the paint tube, right? I'm really not that special.
No, he's coming on next week, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it was a kind of.
You would have bumped me for the paint tube if he'd been available tonight.
Let's not pull the curtain back too far on how this show's scheduled, but yeah,
Paint tube's voting Biden Harris.
Harris. Like the paint tube has terrible politics. I was terrible. Anyways, no, go on. You are the medium.
It's like we're really not that special. We're really not. I love to look at my fucking art and jack myself off about it, but frankly, you know, people have been painting for centuries, and we're very lucky that we have mediums with which we can express our souls with, you know. And if God gave us the soul, you know, and then we got the paint, you know, it's like I just got to step out of that way and let the beauty come through.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I mean, I don't even know what else to say after that. I'm like kind of like I hate like when somebody like slams the gavel down on the episode. I hate like well, yeah, so what do you think about no, it's great. It's great having you on, because Psi and I don't know if Psi if Psi can draw. Can you draw?
No, I can't
either.
It sucks because with my remote viewing shit that I do, where you're just doing sketches. Some people do it really well, and they're like actually have an artistic flair, and then I'm like literally doing stick figures, and you don't need to be an artist to do it, but I'm like, damn it, I wish I could, you know. But I had one more thing before I wanted to ask about your drunk tweeting through the 2016 election. I just want to, what was that like?
I think I really didn't understand the world. I really didn't. I was maybe a year out of college, and I just saw all my friends kind of go rabid like overnight on Twitter. And I was just really in my cups at that point, and I think I just was arguing with everyone. And
what were the talking points? I know this is probably, we all know by this point what that was like, but
I don't think I had any talking points. I really can't remember. I think I got
or like what were you seeing though? Because I love hearing about this from other people.
I was just seeing like, we're gonna rush the streets tonight and protest, and I just thought that was really dumb.
Yeah.
But you know, honestly, again, I honestly don't really stand by my actions for that. I think that was pretty immature of me, frankly. And I think I was
8 years ago, dude. How old
were you?
I
know, but I'm just saying, like, don't put me on a pedestal for drunk tweeting,
for sure.
after
Yeah.
Trump. All I'm saying is that my band saw the tweets and were not happy with me, and I was also being a drunken idiot in the band as well.
I
So that plus that was enough to be like, okay, you're excused.
It was a
right?
clever out for them. I think maybe it was a convenient out.
I mean,
right?
I went to a show where two electronic musicians were playing a washing machine, right? It's the band Matmos. They sampled a washing machine. I was like drunk heckling them the whole time. And that's just not, it's just not the fucking.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Throw a sock in there,
Oh god, yeah, I know. I've seen that type of stuff,
up.
dude. I've seen that type of stuff. The kind of like music. What even is music? Oh, you have appliances that do this. Like, oh, shut up, God. I know. I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, that is interesting. Well, so let everyone know where they can find your work at, man, because I want people to go check it out.
I have my website, which is plasticrepeater.com. You can buy pieces there. Their work's on print there as well. So really stuff in every price range. You can always DM me on Instagram or X. I'm at Plastic Repeater on all platforms. I'm also on TikTok. Harder for me to post there. They somehow know, if there's nudity or whatever, like they flag me all the time. So
they have AI. It's with AI.
I can't do too well over there unless the butt cheeks are really abstracted in a way. But
Picasso would have slipped past the TikTok, dude.
Well, it's just, again, I mean, it's just like, it's like they're just continuing to kind of delete our methods for ability to fucking talk. It's very weird, I know you're wrapping it up, but like, it's like you got fucking Pornhub, but then like everything else, right? It's like I kind of like that idea of the mix where it's like,
I agree.
Like what's sexier, honestly, to me is kind of more the implied stuff,
right?
It's like when you're out in the real world and you're like, oh, well, that sundress is a little short, that kind of gets me going. That get me going way more than if I saw
Pepe
like
get you that on that Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, very much the fucking dog, like hammering myself on the head, going, like.
Otherwise, like Pornhub is such this kind of mechanical, like clock in at work, like
it is a very clock in at work, just like what are mommy milkers doing today and fucking sucks, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe in porn addiction, but I mean, it's just like,
I know I know what it destroys, and it's definitely and just like I said, the double standard. Like it's like if we were really living in this like insane Weimar time, like Weimar Republic time, like you'd be able to paint butt cheeks on TikTok at a minimum.
Well, I mean, the like the fluid stuff, it's bizarre. It's just like I've deleted all lines of boundaries of anything. It's like I'm queer. My friends are my lovers. I'm a man, I'm a woman. It's like, it's very odd kind of like, I'm going to be everything and feel nothing, right? It's like, it's when we're able to kind of break through these barriers that I think romance and like sexuality and stuff are really kind of more interesting. It comes from the repression. Again, I was raised Catholic, so, I'm fucked in the head, but, I just don't get the.
If you ain't guilty, you ain't living.
Exactly. If it doesn't feel a little bad, what's the fucking point of doing it?
Oh God, dude! I swear. That's. I mean, we're wired the same way. It sounds like because I'm just like, dude. It's. I mean, it's again that type of stuff. It's a blessing and a curse. I'm glad I feel that way. It stopped me from doing a lot of things, but it also stops me from doing things that I want to do that I see other people do effortlessly. I'm like, oh, you didn't have anybody telling you how evil you were as a child. Oh, yeah, that's what that's like, So, well, Dakota, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on. Telling this is our first visual art episode. I think. I mean, we've had Adam Lehrer on, who's very, he always brings up certain just random like New York retarded people that are painting and ruining everyone's lives, but never an artist that we are proud to showcase. And why not start with Picasso? We'll have to speak again sometime, man. That sounds this is great. On that note, guys, Gain of Fiction, it's ramping back up. I'm getting ready for the massive Stephen King episode. Some Roberto Bolaño next week, perhaps. That stuff's happening. We're getting PsyOps Book Club back going. I think you said you had you might try to sneak a little something in, right, Psy?
Yeah, we're shuffling the order around a little bit. If you guys want to pop off with some Rudolf Steiner with us, How to Know Higher Worlds, we're doing that one. We're doing that one next in probably like couple weeks tops, I think. Probably
Nice.
like a week and a half. Yeah, so that'll be good.
Rudolph
And
Steiner.
yeah, just the bro, the
Yeah,
bro.
absolutely.
And that's an easy one. You can find that on PDF for free. Just Google it. It's not like you have to buy it. It's
Absolutely. Well, on that note, guys, everybody have a safe week, and we will catch you guys next time.